Welcome to Partnership, where your network is the wind in your sails. I'm your host, Alex Standiford, and I'm here to redefine online partnerships for bootstrapped businesses. I believe in working with top talent to expand your sales channels and enrich the lives around you, not just the pockets of big corporations. Today, we're going to talk about a strategy that helps agencies scale their sales process, earn more predictable income, gain service clients organically, and diversify their company's income streams, all with a couple key changes to their business and sales processes. I know it sounds crazy, but we're going to get into it in this episode. The mistake that I think a lot of agencies make when building their business is that they assume an affiliate program doesn't work for their business at all. This is usually because these businesses primarily focus on getting people to contact them for a quote. From there, most agencies have an initial meeting, maybe do a little bit of discovery, and then maybe prescribe some way to start working with that person. When I was with my agency, I spent a lot of time either quoting out custom projects or sending out flat rates for a discovery. I was quoting and occasionally selling mid to high dollar projects. These projects were always several $1,000s, and it was usually enough for me to make a livable wage by taking on 3 to 5 of those projects each year. But I, like I know most of you do, depended almost entirely on word of mouth for this business. I just did a ton of networking, and that network drove me an occasional lead. I was able to sell projects for a reasonable price because I had already established trust with that person since I was literally being referred by somebody that they knew personally. The biggest problem I had was that for the longest time, I didn't have a way to build that trust organically. The consequence of this was that I was largely at the mercy of my network, and I couldn't really choose when an opportunity could come to me. This meant that I had to either delay the project or try to take on both of them at the same time. And honestly, I don't love either of those options. But what was more concerning was the opposite side of this, the dry spells. These dry spells in my case would cause me anxiety because I had no money coming in, sometimes for months at a time. This caused a dynamic of feast or famine, where I either was completely overworked or underworked all the time while running this agency business. If you're listening to this and you've ever been a freelancer, you can probably relate to this. You've probably been in this situation at some point in your career. You might even be in this situation right now. When I look back at it, it's clear that the biggest problem for this particular phase of my agency business was that I depended entirely on my network to bring me new leads. I would crawl various communities for when people would ask for help on a project, or sometimes just ask the community for work directly. It works pretty well, but the problem is it's just not predictable. Another issue was the inconsistency between projects. One project would be a new website build, the next one would be a custom WordPress plugin for an e-commerce store. The next would be maybe a custom WordPress block or something like that. The point is, every single project had a completely different pitch, a perceived value by the customer, a different price, and just about everything else you can imagine about it was different. The combination of these two things made it impossible for me to predict how much money I can expect to be earning any given month. Not only did I never know how big my sales pipeline was going to be at any time, but I also had no idea what the conversion rate was going to be since every pitch was completely different. And I didn't have a lot of reliable ways to determine the likelihood that they would convert, aside from a generic confidence level based on the meetings that I've had with them. I honestly believe this is the single biggest problem most freelancers and agencies have when they're just getting started. For me, I was always stressed about money, but it wasn't because I didn't have enough work. It was because I never knew when it was going to dry up. I never had any idea on how much money I could expect to come in. And all of that stress came from two things: inconsistent product offerings and a lackluster sales pipeline. With the pipeline bursting with leads and a consistent product to sell, you can start to get a sense of what percentage of your leads actually convert. And not to mention how long before they convert, and a few other metrics that ultimately make it possible to correlate your pipeline with a better sense of how much money you can expect to earn over the next quarter. I mean, just imagine how much more secure you'd feel if you knew, based on your analytics and history and the size of your pipeline, that you would be very likely to hit your sales goal and be able to fully pay your budget and yourself enough to make a comfortable living before the sales were ever even closed. A common way I've seen agencies accomplish this is by having something easier to sell that fills their pipeline with potential leads who can buy their higher priced services after the fact. One of the first examples I can think of is Modern Tribe. They have since been acquired by Liquid Web, so their approach has changed a little bit. But for a really long time, they maintained and sold add-ons for a well-known events plugin called the Events Calendar, and also ran an agency supporting that business and businesses that used it. Another similar example is Mission Lab, an agency that focuses its efforts mostly on church websites. They sell a couple different plugins to help churches manage their website easier, but they also offer to build the websites for these churches as well. For both of these companies, their products provide the company with a source of income, but they also serve as a way to fill their pipeline with leads. When their customers come to need web development services, both Modern Tribe and Mission Lab are uniquely positioned to serve those people. What's so cool about this approach is that it creates a very clear funnel that directs people into buying high-dollar products such as websites, but along the way, it ensures that the company earns some money from these people well before they're ready to actually convert and do that high-priced thing like the website. These leads and this pipeline is a lot less likely to rely solely on their network since they're able to build trust with a much smaller priced item instead of relying on referrals. Plus, now that these agencies have a consistently priced product, they can start to gather those analytics I was talking about earlier. They can start to get a feel for how much money they're going to make based on how much traffic they're getting to their website in the first place. Alongside that, they can also look at the conversion rate of their product. These products renew annually too, so they have a good sense of how much money they'll make from renewals as well. This may not be able to account for all of the agency work and the custom stuff, but it does provide some predictability to their businesses. And who knows, maybe they're even seeing some conversion predictability from their product to their services as well. Compared to a custom service like web development, a prepackaged product is significantly easier to sell. Not only is it much less expensive, but also because there's a lot less of a time commitment from the customer to get what they want out of it. This helps customers who aren't quite ready to make a larger commitment start working with you on a smaller scale, where you can get an opportunity to earn their trust while still getting paid along the way. And because of all of these things, these products are excellent candidates for an affiliate program, especially if that program is focused primarily on selling your inexpensive product instead of your very expensive custom services. With this program, you can find affiliates who promote your product on your behalf and pay them a commission for the sale. This allows you to scale your agency's sales process by creating a way to generate leads and incentivize other people to fill your sales pipeline for you. To me, this is one of the best ways to outsource one of the hardest things to do really well in an agency business: sell. So, if you want to scale your agency's sales process, earn more predictable income, gain service clients organically, and diversify your company's income streams, it makes a lot of sense to make a product that complements your services. Now, in the examples I provided, both Modern Tribe and Mission Lab created WordPress plugins, but software is really not your only option here. As long as what you're selling is low touch, fixed in scope, and is something that your customers will actually buy, it's something you can probably turn into a product. Now, what may not be quite as obvious about this strategy, but is also pretty important, is that in both of these examples, both companies ended up zeroing in on at least one specific vertical for what they're offering. This is abundantly clear with Mission Lab, with their laser focus on churches, but it's also the case for Modern Tribe as well. At least that is when you look at it through the lens of the leads that they can generate with the events calendar. After all, the events calendar is only going to attract people who need a calendar on their website, right? Well, it turns out a lot of those websites happen to be colleges, so it's no surprise that several portfolio pieces for Modern Tribe are colleges. In other words, their low-cost offering actually helped tailor their niche, where Mission Lab did the opposite. They picked a niche and built the software to serve those people. This level of focus can profoundly help in your marketing decisions. For example, Modern Tribe has several blog posts focused specifically on higher education on their site. And I'm sure Mission Lab finds themselves at conferences and networking events specifically for churches all the time. With a clear avatar, so much of your marketing decisions just sort of click in place, and having a product can really help narrow that down. What you're selling doesn't even have to be a plugin if that's not your skill set. Some things I've also seen include a course selling your process, a basic website setup service, prepackaged website templates, website audits, books, even consultation services can fit into this. Spend some time thinking about your ideal client, or pay attention to the products that your customers have purchased. Can you make a better version? Maybe something that's more tailored to their needs? Is that product something that a lot of other people would want as well? For me, when I was thinking about this, I found that Launch by Jeff Walker was a great read. A lot of the content is fundamental, but the product launch formula is a solid approach to developing a product and building an audience at the same time. If you're feeling lost on where to start, consider picking up that book. I'll add it in the show notes below. Once you have a product that you're able to consistently sell, you can start to think about scaling that sales process around your funnel. The key here is that you're consistently selling the product and that the product is being sold without requiring your involvement to make that sale happen. In other words, the customer should be able to complete the entire purchase without needing to contact you and should instead be purchasing your product, probably using a cart or some kind of e-commerce tool. By setting this up, you can now create an affiliate program to promote that product. Siren is a great fit for this type of affiliate program because with Siren, you can create more than one program at a time. With multiple programs, you can find people that fit best at different points in your sales funnel. You can start with a traditional affiliate program that focuses on selling your low-cost product that we talked about before. And as your business grows, you may find that some of your affiliates would actually be really good fits for selling your services as well. In these cases, you can set up a lead-focused program. And that program can credit those affiliates with a commission when they generate a lead that eventually turns into a sale. It's even possible to take this even further and create a third program that's focused entirely on closing the sale. Perhaps you pay another affiliate as a salesperson who actually takes the meetings that the lead-focused program generates. This is a much more traditional approach to sales and probably requires that you hire them as an employee as well, but a sales program like this with a good lead generation system is definitely viable. The key point here is that Siren can serve as a stepping stone to help you move yourself out of the sales position in your own business. It starts with an affiliate program, and then it can grow into a full-blown sales process that has multiple touch points from a combination of salespeople and affiliates who generate leads and close sales. Instead of jumping right into having a salesperson, this process focuses on building your pipeline at each stage, ensuring that any salesperson who you do hire is set up to be able to actually close deals and make some money. I explore this concept on a video on Siren's YouTube channel titled How to Sell Expensive Things Using Siren. I'll link that video in the show notes as well. The secret here is that you're actually creating two products. One is the actual product for your customers, and the other is your affiliate program, both of which you can sell to the right people. What's really convenient about this mentality is that you can usually find both potential affiliates and potential customers at vertical specific conferences. These conferences often have companies that sell things that run parallel to your products, but does not directly compete. Such people can be great affiliates. Of course, you can also be on the lookout for companies that would actually, buy your product and your services as well. But my point is you now have a product to sell or something to offer to pretty much anybody who attends the right conferences for you. If you haven't listened to my previous episode titled How to Find Affiliates for Your Product, definitely give that a listen after this because it's a natural extension of this episode. And I talk about the ways that you can find affiliates and a lot of approaches around that. I'll add that in the show notes below as well. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to what kind of product you can develop. And honestly, this episode barely scratches the surface of that. My goal here was to make a case for having a product like this in the first place and showing how a product can be a sales tool that also makes you money in the process. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Partnership, where your network is the wind in your sails. I hope you found today's discussion insightful and inspiring. Remember, the strength of your business lies in the partnerships you build and nurture. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. For more tips and insights, visit our website at partnership.fm. This is Alex Standiford, sailing out.